This is FSD Supervised 12.5.4.2. It's also using the newer navigation data, which I believe it said it was 2024.20. I'm a little late to making the video because as a Hardware 3 owner, I get these at a later date, a little bit lagged than everyone else. So Tesla's basically announced that future development is prioritizing the Autopilot Hardware 4 platform, or AI4 as they've retro-named it. They've retconned it to AI4 from Hardware 4. This is the Lakeland loop and back. But yeah, just run the video back at twice the speed. I don't expect any major changes. I did the drive on the old map data and there wasn't any real changes between the two versions, but with the new map data I wanted to see if there were any differences. For the most part, at this stage in the game, the car predominantly drives itself with a few boneheaded mistakes. On the highway, which this is not the end-to-end highway version, but on the highway it has a tendency to cut people off, which is a little concerning, but it's not cutting in front of someone that's going too fast, it's cutting in front of people where it can technically get in front of that car, but you look like an asshole when you do it. So but yeah, the motivation to make these videos is a lot less because I'm behind the 8 ball, right? The best I can do is make videos for the sake of saying, here's what it looks like on Hardware 3, but most folks have already moved on to what it looks like running on Hardware 4. Supposedly, they'll do retrofits on Hardware 3 enabled vehicles to bring them to something newer. Time will tell on whether or not that's the case, but we'll see. This one here, this is a Model Y from 2022, which means I paid $12,000 for FSD. So I'm hoping when they do the retrofits, they are included in that cost. I know the subscription folks will have to pay for it out of pocket, but having bought the package outright, I did that on the assumption that, like when they upgraded folks from 2.5 to 3, that price includes the retrofit. I don't know that the cheaper $8,000 price includes it, but again, time will tell. So it does look like they're not putting the car into the right lane, which it used to do that quite a bit. And the side effect of doing that is the road is rougher on the right from semi-traffic that's constantly going up and down the road. But yeah, I don't like the fact that I went through the intersection at 30 miles an hour. I can understand why it did that, so that the going through the intersection was smoother. But as you can see, the truck in front of me was waiting for me to get by. Someone kicked up a bit of dust here. I do like the fact that the car stayed to the left when it went through the intersection, as opposed to going towards the center lane, which it has done in the past. When I go through that one, I prefer to go to the outer lanes and avoid the center one because it makes it less combative. I have seen an issue here where, like right now, it should be trying to get into the right lane. And honestly, I would have gotten in behind the white car that I passed a minute ago. Being at this stage of the game, trying to get into the right lane, I'm going to end up looking like an asshole or something. need to be in the right lane, though. That works, but you are not giving that truck a whole lot of space to stop. Yeah, he stopped pretty close to my bumper there. I would have changed lanes way earlier than that. I have to yield. Oh, he's not going to cross. Okay, so I'm not going to have that to worry about. I apparently need to clean my windshield. Tisk, tisk, tisk. On this version, the highway stuff is pretty solid, even though it's not the end-to-end stuff, at least for me. Inserted myself here. I understand why it did it, but I think there was a better opportunity further up. Stuff like that's tricky though, but I can tell where the non-end-to-end version is doing some very rigid metrics on where to change lanes at. This guy has got all his lights on and you can't tell if he's signaling or not. There he goes. Why, dude? You're just gonna confuse the shit out of my car. did was effectively useless. It wants to go around the traffic ahead of me, but the traffic ahead of me isn't moving fast enough to make the attempt worth it. So my hands have not been on the wheel since I started driving. Basically just left everything up to the car here. Signaling is useless. So I understand slowing down to 25 miles an hour, but at the same time, I really feel it's not necessary through there. But I don't know. It's a transponder toll booth anyways, so as long as I got the transponder on, it doesn't really make a difference. So historically, previously, it has tried to change into the right lane here. It did not, although there is that car next to me, so it's possible that they buffered me into this spot. But I'll call that a win for now. I need to be in the center lane. Slotted in correctly. Now I need to maintain this lane. Stay between the lines. Beautiful. Now we need to stay in this lane. Historically, after we pass the light, it tries to get into the right lane. The right lane ends and has to merge into this one. Good. Except that Mercedes has got to cut in front of me now. And that pickup truck is not getting anywhere. Disengage once it makes this right turn because I'm gonna go park elsewhere than what it wants to do. But yeah, so for that leg, end to end, no hands on the wheel, no mucking about. So yeah, very well done. All right, and now for the return trip. That one's tricky. It said I need to pay attention, but I was looking both ways to make sure traffic was in fact clear for the car to go. So, I was paying attention, just not in the way the car wanted. So what we're going to do, while we're stopped at a red light, is, this is 570. I want to say that was frontage road, but we got to go from Hardin. To frontage, and then immediately onto the 570. And this is traversing, so we turn into a dedicated lane, and then we have to traverse from the dedicated lane that ends 2 lanes over, and immediately take the on-ramp. So the last time I did this, it completely failed to maneuver. So we'll see how it does today. Oh, that was kind of jarring. Signal needs to come on to change lanes. So now there's a van coming, and I need to get all the way over, and it completely failed. It didn't even try. So that is a massive, massive regression. Now, an argument could be made that it saw the van coming and decided to abort the maneuver. It did, yeah, at the end of the day, it didn't even try that. So now I'm going to have it route to my destination a different way, that's more surface streets. Last time I did this rerouting, it failed because it did not get into the correct lane in time. So I need to be 2 lanes over once the other lane appears here. So I should already be changing lanes to the left lane, but we're not doing it. And then once I get past this fork, I need to get over 1 more lane. So nobody's coming, so it should be able to do it. It's taking a long time to commit. I think it's just in the wrong lane. Yep, alright, so I'm going to abort this and change the route to be I-4, because I don't want to deal with the car, because if I let it, from the previous video, if I let it try and do that, it's going to try and cut in front of the car. So this whole road segment's busted, because it's done that properly before. So the max auto is killing me again. I need to be accelerating up to highway speeds, which I'm not. I'm still stuck at the 25 mile an hour sign that's on the toll booth. There it goes. And there's my highway speed. So that was unpleasant. Oh, that didn't even maintain the lane properly. approach this spot, I technically want to be in the left lane. I should be slotting in behind the car that's next to me because this lane ends. It's highlighted the car as blue, so I'm assuming we're going to slot in behind it. Stressing me out, car. So I would have handled that differently. I largely would have gotten in behind the car much earlier. I need to be changing lanes. This lane becomes an exit. This is doing very poorly on the return trip. I could have changed lanes way back there, but instead it's going to muscle its way in between these two cars, of which the car behind me doesn't want to let me in, which is understandable. So that whole thing could have been done significantly better. I'm hitting the accelerator because it's changing into a lane in front of a semi-truck while it was going 40 miles an hour. That was all bad. So it did 40 miles an hour max. It was set to 60, but it was going 40 because it was slowing down to take the exit ramp, but it was able to get out of the exit ramp in time, but not accelerate back up to interstate speeds in time. I ended up boxed in like that because the vehicle to the rear driver's side of me didn't want to let me in, which was fair. The car was trying to muscle its way into somewhere it didn't need to. It should have changed lanes just as soon as it was able to, instead of remaining in that exit lane. That was very, very poorly done. How much of that matters? Probably none, because the highway logic has already changed. But as a whole, that was bad. That's the worst I've had in that spot. So here, I would already be changing lanes over to the right because I know I have to, and now is as good a time as any. But instead it waits for the 0.7, 0.6 mile marker, and then it does the lane change. Like, it knew it couldn't go into the left lane, so it was committed to the center lane. The logic was there, and you could feel it because the car was slowing down even though traffic in the left lane was going faster. Traffic in the right lane wasn't nearly as clogged, and it's like once I got over here I was able to start accelerating more. And I get the logic behind, oh, you don't pass people on the right, but if that's where your exit is, sometimes it just makes more sense to do that. And that's the logic that's missing. Again, that's all highway stuff, so in theory that'll end up getting tweaked in the next version, if I ever get it. But we'll see. So yeah, so as a whole, drove really well on the first leg of the trip. The second leg of the trip, the city street stuff, it did well. The highway stuff, it just screwed up all to hell. It missed an on-ramp. It got into the wrong lane for a turn. It failed to merge from 570 to the interstate. And then outside of that, it behaved somewhat. The highway stuff, obviously that's all improved with the newer version that I just don't have access to yet. But yeah, that's all she wrote. Thanks for watching.